Hello, this is Max. A policeman is investigating a missing boy case, but very strange things are happening around him. Don't forget to subscribe. In the opening scene, we witness a young boy named Justin Witter bidding farewell to his school friends as he begins his journey through the woods on his way home. Everything appears to be proceeding smoothly until he is abruptly thrust back by an unexplained force. This story then shifts its focus to a family consisting of Jackie, the mother, and her son, Connor. Despite Jackie's best efforts to prepare breakfast, it is evident that their family relationship is strained, with the son displaying cold and resentful behavior towards his mother. Shortly thereafter, Greg, the father, who has been sleeping on the couch, awakens and goes to console his upset son. It becomes clear that Connor's behavior is rooted in a deep-seated issue. Jackie is cheating on Greg, resulting in turmoil within their family. Jackie is attempting to mend their fractured household, but she remains unaware of the brewing trouble within her own home. Meanwhile, when Jackie is at work, Greg loses his temper, breaking his phone by hurling it through a window. His attention then shifts to Jackie's favorite mug, curiously positioned on the roof. Growing suspicious, Greg investigates and discovers hidden cigarettes within the mug, leading him to suspect Connor's involvement. Returning to the mysterious incident involving Justin Witter, the boy has vanished without a trace. We learn that Greg works as a detective in the town, and he has just been informed that Justin's bicycle was recovered by the authorities. Greg and Spitsky, the lead officers on the case, received this information along with the discovery of a green pocket knife nearby. These knives are reminiscent of ones found underground alongside the bodies of 6 deceased boys, all connected to Cole Gordon, a convicted killer. This development suggests that Cole Gordon may be a suspect in Justin's disappearance, but Spitsky had already incarcerated Cole, leaving questions about the true culprit. As time passes, an eerie atmosphere descends, intensifying the tension in the house. Upon Jackie's return from work, she notices her silverware missing, further unsettling her. A noise emanates from her bedroom, but it turns out to be the repairman dispatched by Greg to fix the window. The repairman claims he was let in by a polite girl from the household, which perplexes Jackie, as she only has a teenage son. In the evening, an unsettling event occurs when the TV spontaneously turns on, broadcasting news of Justin's and another boy's disappearance. Jackie switches it off, but it comes back on. Greg returns home from work at that moment, diverting her attention from the bizarre incident. Jackie expresses her concerns about the repairman potentially stealing their silverware, but Greg dismisses her worries, accusing her of creating unnecessary trouble. Greg also notices that another picture is missing from the wall but chooses to ignore it. He then heads to his room to freshen up, but is briefly distracted by Connor's hamster. Following the free creature into Connor's room, Greg encounters an unexpected and unsettling turn of events. As Greg enters the closet to retrieve the hamster, he assumes it's a prank orchestrated by his son and instructs Connor to unlock the door. However, Connor is nowhere to be found in the room, as he has gone out with his friends. Another argument arises between the couple as Jackie attempts to repair their deteriorating relationship by asking Greg to spend the night in their shared room. Still at odds, Greg decides to arrange his belongings in the guest room instead. Later that night, Jackie is awakened by a noise coming from Connor's room. Curiosity drives her to investigate, only to find a game running on the laptop with no one present. Meanwhile, Connor returns to his room after quenching his thirst. Despite her attempts to engage him in conversation, Jackie's attention is drawn to a peculiar mask concealed beneath Connor's bed. Due to the strained nature of their relationship, she chooses to leave her questions unanswered. Later, we witness someone pulling Greg's duvet while he sleeps. The following day, a phone call from work wakes him, and he realizes he has wet the bed, leading him to transfer the mattress to the washing machine. At the police station, Lieutenant Mariah informs Greg about the strikingly similar modus operandi to that of Cole Gordon, a notorious child abductor imprisoned 15 years ago. Cole's lawyer aims to exploit these recent incidents for a mistrial, but Spitsky firmly believes that Cole is the culprit, given the compelling evidence, including a trunk filled with green knives and clothes belonging to multiple victims. Lieutenant Mariah suggests interviewing the 2 boys who managed to escape Cole's clutches, Braun and Travers, in hopes of gaining crucial information to thwart the criminal's defense. The officers head to Braun's residence, but Tommy Braun, visibly burned and traumatized, becomes frenzied and screams, prompting them to leave him alone. Greg listens to the interview tape from 15 years ago, in which Tommy recounts their encounter with the perpetrator on the railroad. being taken to a little house in the woods, and the perpetrator's subsequent disappearance after their escape. Meanwhile, strange occurrences continue in Greg's house. Jackie's ex-boyfriend, Todd, unexpectedly visits, hoping to rekindle their relationship. As they argue, a mug is thrown from upstairs, striking Todd on the head. With Connor still inside the house, Jackie can't risk allowing Todd in, so she guides him to the basement to tend to his wound. At the same time, Connor is in the toilet when he hears a noise from the guest room. However, upon going upstairs to check, no one is in sight. Concerned about Todd's excessive bleeding, Jackie decides to rush him to the hospital after dropping off her son at school. Suddenly, a call from Todd's number reaches her phone, accompanied by the faint sound of their gramophone playing in the background. Todd claims he may have dropped the phone earlier. Returning upstairs, she questions whether Connor has been on the roof or has started the music, but Connor denies any knowledge of what she's referring to. On their way to school, they encounter Justin Witter's mother, who lives in Jackie's neighborhood. Jackie assures her that everything will be all right regarding her son. In the dimly lit basement, as Todd searches for a bandage, he is suddenly attacked from behind by someone. Later, in the woods, Greg and Spitsky make the startling discovery that someone had stopped Justin by rigging a rope between two trees, explaining the unseen force witnessed at the beginning of the movie. Upon Jackie's return home to assist Todd in reaching the hospital, she finds that he has already succumbed to his injuries. Later that evening, when Greg returns home, he receives another distressing piece of news. Jackie implores his help in dealing with Todd's lifeless body. She suspects that Connor may have thrown the mug at Todd, unintentionally causing his death. Consumed by anger towards his wife, Greg refuses to involve the authorities, fearing the consequences for their son's freedom. They proceed to carry Todd's lifeless body into the woods, where they have decided to bury him. Meanwhile, Connor has returned home and begins playing video games. Startled by strange noises coming from the laundry room, he ventures downstairs to investigate, only to stumble upon silverware inside the washing machine. Upon returning to his room, a message pops up on his laptop screen, asking about his knowledge of frogging. Intrigued, Connor turns to Google and discovers that frogging involves secretly inhabiting someone else's home without their knowledge. As he becomes engrossed in his online exploration, a man wearing the same mask Jackie found in his room ominously appears behind him. When the couple returns home, they are shocked to find Connor bound in the bathtub with the unmistakable green knife beside him. Jackie rushes the unconscious Connor to the hospital, while Lieutenant Mariah informs Spitsky about a phone call they received from a girl who claims to have spotted the kidnapper. However, Greg doesn't answer his phone. Subsequently, we see Greg's determination to apprehend the intruder in his house. While inspecting the guest room, he comes across their family photographs that mysteriously disappeared from their frames. As he methodically searches every corner, he is caught off guard and mercilessly assaulted by the masked man. The movie then shifts to a few days earlier, where two teenagers, Mindy and Alec, sneak into Greg's house after the family leaves. Mindy is an experienced frogger, while Alec is a newbie acting as the cameraman to document their experience. They plan to occupy the guest room and hide whenever the family returns home, staying no longer than 4 to 5 days before moving to the next house. While Mindy tries to maintain a low profile and avoid disturbing the homeowners, Alec displays a lack of regard for such precautions by smoking outside. Later, after Mindy has fallen asleep, Alec sneaks out of the room and captures footage of the family sleeping, including Greg on the couch. The next day, the film returns to the events at the beginning of the story. While the mother prepares breakfast, Alec suggests the idea of tormenting a family for amusement, but Mindy firmly forbids him from doing so. As Greg gets ready for work, he notices that one of the family photos on the wall is missing. The two froggers then hear the sound of a broken window, which we already know was caused by Greg. It is revealed that Alec unintentionally left the mug on the roof with the cigarettes inside, and when Greg checked the roof by the guest room, the duo was still inside, hiding from him. Later, a repairman arrives at the door, and since he has overheard their conversation, Mindy allows him entry. This is why the repairman told Jackie that her daughter had let him in, and Alec is seen stealing Jackie's silverware. While Mindy puts their belongings in the basement, Alec takes a few sleeping pills from Greg's room, crushes them, and dissolves them thoroughly in a water bottle. Once they confirm the repairman's departure, Mindy decides never to venture downstairs again, unwilling to take further risks. In the meantime, they learn the distressing news that Justin Witter, another local kidnapping victim from the past month, was taken while wearing a green soccer jersey in the nearby woods. Alec then deviously gives the tablet's water to Mindy, causing her to become drowsy and fall asleep. Seeing the opportunity to torment the family, he uses a mobile app to play tricks with the television. Alec's primary focus then shifts to Greg. He releases the hamster from its enclosure and lies in wait inside Connor's room. As soon as Greg enters the cupboard to retrieve the animal, Alec locks the door, trapping him inside. Later that night, while everyone is asleep, it is revealed that Alec is the one who pulled the duvet and urinated on Greg that night. The following day, Mindy catches him smoking on the roof and pleads with him not to engage in such behavior, terrorizing people and disrupting their lives. Alec argues that they should simply have fun, but Mindy urges him to stop. In a fit of annoyance, Alec hurls the mug to the ground, unaware that Todd is standing below. Overwhelmed by the situation, Mindy decides it's time to leave the house. However, their belongings are still in the basement, and then suddenly, Connor makes his way towards the room to investigate the commotion they caused, so they have to stay hidden for a while. To divert Jackie and Todd's attention, Alec devises a plan involving Todd's dropped phone. Hearing the music voice on the call, Jackie returns upstairs, allowing Mindy to retrieve her luggage from the basement. This is when Jackie asks Connor about the music being played on their gramophone, and then the mother sends the son to school. Concealing herself behind boxes in the basement, Mindy becomes an eyewitness to a heinous crime unfolding before her eyes. To our surprise, the man who viciously strikes Todd on the head is none other than Greg himself. He then retrieves a bag from the basement, placing it in the trunk of his car alongside a bat. Greg actually returns to his house to get the document he left behind before heading back to the office. When Mindy is about to leave the basement, Jackie unexpectedly returns home, forcing Mindy to stay in the basement. Later that evening, the couple argues about Todd's body, while Mindy witnesses Greg acting as if he just found out. On the other hand, Alec strategically places a destroyed family photo from Greg's collection inside the guest room. As Greg and Jackie leave the house to bury Todd, Mindy cautiously returns upstairs, only to witness Alec binding and restraining Connor while wearing the unsettling mask. Filled with panic, she attempts to contact the police, but Alec intercepts her and unintentionally causes Mindy to fall down the stairs, losing consciousness. Despite initially refusing her instructions, Alec's concern for his friend compels him to take her to the hospital. Sitting Connor in the bathtub with a green knife nearby, he hides Mindy and her luggage in Greg's car trunk and attempts to start the vehicle. Unexpectedly, the couple returns from the woods, forcing Alec to take refuge in the garage. After discovering Connor's condition, Jackie rushes him to the hospital, while Alec's plan hits a snag when Greg takes off in his own car. Meanwhile, Mindy, who is still in Greg's car, awakens to discover a green jersey in his bag, the same one worn by the missing boy on the day of his abduction. At this point, it becomes clear that the kidnapper of Justin Witter is none other than the detective himself. When the car halts in a secluded area, Mindy seizes the opportunity to contact 911, revealing the kidnapper's location. However, since she doesn't know the exact place, the authorities will take some time to track her on GPS. In the midst of the woods, she comes across a caravan, also known as the Little House, and decides to investigate it. As she enters, she discovers the shocking sight of the two missing boys confined inside. Unfortunately, she is captured by our detective Greg, and he spots the camera, allowing him to learn that Mindy and her friend have been secretly residing in his home for several days. Long story short, he takes Mindy back to his house and asks her to stand up before shooting her, resulting in her demise. Retrieving another pistol from his jacket, Greg fires a shot at the opposite wall and cunningly positions the weapon in Mindy's hand, creating a false narrative of her attacking a law enforcement officer. Back to the earlier scene, after Greg stumbles upon their family photographs in the guest room, he finds himself caught off guard and mercilessly assaulted by the masked man, who turns out to be Alec. After a brief struggle, Alec gains the upper hand, holding Greg at gunpoint. At this point, Alec claims that he knew Greg was the one who kidnapped the town's missing boys, but Greg blames Alec for the crime, and Alec wants to stop the detective from investigating the case. As the light illuminates Alec's face, it seems like Greg begins to realize something, but Alec doesn't want to hear his explanation. Alec fires a fatal shot, swiftly extinguishing Greg's life. His eyes are filled with tears, just as Officer Spitsky arrives at the scene and shoots Alec in the shoulder. Spitsky is taken aback when Alec immediately recognizes him. Afterwards, the police and medical help arrive at Greg's house and the caravan in the woods, where the police successfully rescue Justin Witter and another missing boy. It is here that Spitsky finds damning evidence: knives in Justin's jersey concealed in Greg's trunk. Alec managed to reveal the truth to Spitsky. The mysterious serial killer, who has murdered and molested many boys from the town, is none other than Greg. Misusing his position, Greg continued the abductions and killings, perpetuating a cycle of terror while framing others for the crime, such as Cole Gordon. Alec, who is still alive, is promptly transported to the hospital for medical care. He recalls the tragic incident when he and Tommy were playing on the railroad, revealing that Alec is one of the two boys who managed to escape the kidnapping that occurred 15 years ago. The two boys were then approached by the perpetrator, who was our officer. If you are interested in such films, please proceed to the next video on the screen and also share your thoughts about this film in the comments. Give us a like and subscribe. Goodbye.